Welcome to Cyber Materials Ask Me Anything Cyber, a fun, interactive weekly event for everything cybersecurity. Join us every week at noon Eastern Time for a high-energy, quick-hit recap of the week's biggest cyber stories, from data breaches and threat intel to major legal updates. Whether it's a high-profile hack, a new APT on the rise, or a must-attend summit, we've got it covered. But that's not all. We'll also break down the latest job market trends, share our thoughts on cyber stocks, and give you actionable insights to stay ahead. And of course, we wrap things up with what makes this show special: live Q&A with you. Have a question about a breach? Want to know how a threat works? Curious about getting started in cyber? Let us know and we'll answer it live. Without further ado, let's get this event started.
Welcome everybody to this special Ask Me Anything Cyber. So whether you're joining us from home, from work, or anywhere in the world, we're glad to have you here. I'm here with Prapti today. She's going to be my co-host today. Hi Prapti, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm great. And I'm really excited today because we're going to be talking about something big that is happening this May in Miami. And it's the EkoParty, one of the biggest hacker conference in Latin America. And it's coming here to the US. Are you excited to talk about it today?
Yeah, and I think we're going to have a very interesting conversation.
Yes, we are going to have. And it's not just a conference for those who don't know. It's where hackers, security researchers, and the industry leaders are going to come together. They're going to share ideas. They're going to learn from each other and talk about real cybersecurity challenges. And here with us today, we're going to have Federico. He is a co-founder of EkoParty and someone who's been key building in and growing one of the most respected hacker communities out there. So if you have any question or you want to learn more, don't go anywhere. This is where you can ask any question for us in the chat. And without anything else, I want to welcome Federico that is gonna talk all about the EkoParty today. Hi, Fede. How are you? Thank you for joining us today.
Hey, Prapti. Hey, Sophie. Thanks for having me. Thanks for showcasing EkoParty, something that I really enjoy talking about. So what a better excuse than ask me anything cyber to talk about something I love.
And that's crazy because EkoParty is all about cybersecurity. So I do have a poll for the audience that what are you most excited about the EkoParty in Miami? So I want you to comment and ask any question for Fede, and we're gonna be like popping out throughout the event. And if you have like any specific question about the live hacking that is also gonna be happening, of course, you can always reach out to Fede or send an email to the EkoParty team. They're gonna get back to you. So without like going like with more information and everything, for those who are not familiar with the EkoParty, what makes it like such a unique event in the cybersecurity space?
So to tell you about what makes EkoParty special, I need to tell you about the history of EkoParty. So EkoParty started in Buenos Aires 21 years ago, and me and a number of friends who met over the internet wonder how we would meet fellow hackers, right? And at that time, there were a lot of conferences in the world, but none in Latin America and not in Argentina, where we used to host EkoParty. So we had this crazy idea to set a date, ask friends, and have lectures. And to our surprise, we started meeting people who would live nearby, people who would have taken buses just to meet fellow, folks that were
Yeah.
interested in hacking cyber into the offensive side of security. So I think the community side of EkoParty, I think its Latin soul makes a great way of connecting and learning in a community way. And I think all of us are a little bit overwhelmed with everything that's happening every day. I was watching the intro of APTs, ransomware, AI, you name it. So what better way to learn that with someone that it's also wanting to learn? So I think what makes EkoParty special? The people that attend EkoParty. And I think everyone, even myself, go and trying to learn and to connect.
That's crazy. And this all happened before social media, right?
Of course.
So
Yeah.
it must be like
Unless
very hard to.
unless you count IRC as social media, but Twitter was around, I think. But yeah, it's been a while, and security has changed. But I think there are some key changes that we do a lot of effort to keep it that way. The industry has grown a lot.
Yeah, it does.
When we started, we never thought someone would hire us. Nevertheless, now we are not only working but shaping how security is done. So I think investing in talent, investing in education, creating community spaces, and for us, EkoParty is creating a stage for talent. We know talent is out there, but someone has to, put a date, put the mic, and get them
Put
to
it
present.
together.
So
Yes.
yeah.
So this is going to be your first edition outside of Latin America. So what is the inspiration behind like bringing EkoParty to Miami?
So for a lot of years, we have doing in Buenos Aires, and people from all over the planet have come to Buenos Aires, where we had not only the honor but the challenge to host in our country, right? But over time, and once we had better, relationship with people from all over, we thought, hey, I think what we're doing here is to connect the local talent with key people in the industry. But a good strategy for us is, what if we take part of this talent to Miami, where we think Miami, as all the cities in the US, I think brings a number of interesting opportunities. Once, it's a fun city.
Yeah,
Two, there's a lot of Latin community over there.
true.
We are out. I think if there's a big difference in our conference, is that most of us come from Latin America.
Yeah,
And I think, Sophie, you know that when you get a bunch of Latins in the same place, the vibe, the connection, and the opportunity, it's a different level. And Miami has become not just a big city for all Latin America, but a technology hub where crypto's happening, cyber's happening, now AI, a lot of PCs are coming. And for us, it's, as we were talking before, creating a better stage, connecting our communities, making not, Latin America and the US, but America as a whole. So I
yes.
at least that's the spirit that we're trying to accomplish in this EkoParty edition.
And this is like something I wanted to ask, like, how can you compare EkoParty to well-known like events here in the US, like Black Hat or DEF CON? Like, can you say like they're similar or what's the difference?
Of course, I think each conference has its own spirit, and I think all hacker conferences have a spirit of sharing. When you go to DEF CON, when you go to Black Hat, of course, maybe the attires change, but the spirit doesn't. You can see people who have been practitioners for a really long time.
Yeah,
And I think what we're trying to bring here, it's our community, the Latin community, to the US. I think if you're coming to EkoParty, you're going to connect with a lot of people that might not go to DEF CON, that might not go to Black Hat. And that's the effort that we're doing. We're trying to go where technology is being shaped. And I think the US plays an important role in the technology we use every day. So Argentina, it's a little bit far, we know, but I think if we can bring people who have been working for the US and global corporations to Miami, it's also a good opportunity to understand challenges in other regions, to talk about what affect us in a way that we can improve. So I think we are a mix between, I think EkoParty has its own spirit, but
yeah,
it is a mix between, I would say, European security conferences like a CCC and a
hmm
DEF CON, but with a more Black Hat approach, right? We are getting top of the notch content. We have two great keynotes that I'll talk in a bit, that are world class, people who are shaping how we see and hear cyber today. But the community aspect for us, and this idea that even if it's your first day in cyber, we
hmm
want you at EkoParty to connect and meet the people that you will be working maybe for the rest of your career. And that has been my experience. It's a community that is ever growing, ever welcoming, and I look forward for you guys also to meet what EkoParty means to me.
Yeah.
It's actually really nice to know about the amazing diversity, even in terms of like there are many topics that people will be attending for, and there are different types of people from freshers to people who have a lot of experience to show up. So I would like to know what kind of audience will be attending and what should they be expecting from this event?
Probably that's a great question. I think that's a question that most people ask me when they want to go to a conference, especially EkoParty.
Okay.
The first question is like, I don't know if I need to go. I might not know anyone. I don't know the topics. And for me, it's always, I try to tell that it's the best excuse to meet people, to learn about what topics you don't know. I think if something, I don't know you guys, but in me personally, I think cyber, it's a great way of have ever learning experience. You're always learning something new. Sometimes it might be stressful, but when you're learning with somebody else, when you meet a community that's also learning, it's a great way to ask questions, to meet friends. And I think internally we have this saying at EkoParty that you might come to EkoParty alone, but you never leave alone. Because when you're in
That's a great
search,
motto. I think you should put it on your website. Come
I think
alone,
that's
don't leave
where
alone.
you will come and people will ask questions. They're like, hey, it's your first time. Where you come from? Like, we are
Mhm.
curious people, not only with technology,
Yeah.
but with the people that surround us. So we are a quite diverse crowd. I think if something, if I had to put one label, Sophie, in EkoParty, I think friendly should be underneath. I think for many of us, we saw cybersecurity as something sometimes a little bit aggressive or
And scary, and people
hostile
are
and
like,
scary.
do I
And
belong to this community? I got a
and
lot of
I
imposter
think
syndrome.
that's our main effort,
Yeah.
because we need we need help. We need a way. We are going to some unknowns. And
True.
we don't imagine technology without security. And even now that we are always talking about how the technology is embedded in your life, how it mediates um, the way we see things, being welcome, bringing a diverse crowd, having people from different backgrounds in one place, it's the best way we can afford looking into future, because there is not only one bias, there are many
Yeah.
biases, and I
Yeah.
think the community aspect is super important. So to answer your question, Prapti, it doesn't matter if it's your first time or you have spent 25 years in the industry. I think EkoParty, it's a great stop to learn, to enjoy, and to meet fellow people in that journey. So um, I try every time that I get that email, and if someone's hearing me and sends me an email, I'll make sure you get in at EkoParty, even if it's your first time, because for me, the best experience is that you need to live what a bunch of curious people enjoy for today. So
That's a great message. And I love that because, I mean, it's all about it like come together at the party and have fun and build things and like build connections. And in terms of like talks or like hands-on experience, what if like attendees can expect? Any specific fun talk, fan workshop, cooking there?
well, I think most of us come with self-learning experience. So there are two big topics that now we're discussing, right? One, of course, it's security, but the second, it's how AI will shape security. So in
Yeah.
this case, we have Aaron Pornoy, who, if you haven't met Aaron, which is a good friend of mine, he's the creator of Pound to Own, the
Mhm.
the challenge where you need to build exploits to own the device, and it has been running for plus 15 years. And now he has gone full AI. He is the product officer at MindGuard,
Mhm.
and he will be giving one of the keynotes on how the way we have been doing security doesn't hold on the AI. And we have seen, all this with Midas from Anthropic. We have seen, this effort from these frontier models on how it can be used for cyber, specifically in the offensive side. So the cost for attackers in terms of knowledge or effort is going down. So having someone like Aaron giving the keynote will, I think, for me, would be super insightful. So if you're interested in AI and security, I think Aaron's keynote is key. Uh, Regarding the hands-on workshops, EkoParty is known for having what we call villages. So we have
Mm.
villages from different experience. We have a lockpicking village that I think it's a classic for hackathons where you need to
Mm-hmm.
learn how to open a lock with lockpicks. We also have a malware village where if you're into malware, that would be it. And there was a slide about Jax Juan Guerrero, who is the
Mm-hmm.
lead researcher at SentinelOne. He will be also talking about AI, where a big part of our concerns are what happens when attackers start using AI, which
Yeah.
they are. So
Mhm.
how to plan and how to expect, defenses. Jax, it's a prime researcher. He used to live in Miami. He moved
Mm-hmm.
a bit ago, but I think Jax represents this mix of our community that comes from Latin America, but now it's a key personality within the cybersecurity industry, where he has really sharp views on what are we doing good, but specifically what are we doing bad and how we need to improve. So I look forward for both of these keynotes. And regarding all the other, there are many lectures that we are yet to announce. We are just close to CFP. The announcement is going live. So expect 2 days of lectures, but also having a number of villages where you can have workshops and hands-on experience with these different verticals of
Yeah.
cyber.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I bet
it's
like, yeah, sure. Yeah, go ahead, Prapti. Yeah.
I was going to say that it's actually very exciting because now we know the people who are coming and we know what to expect. But my question was that you did mention how AI is going to be changing the cybersecurity landscape. And not just that on the offensive side, but it would also change on the defensive side. And the trends would, differ from what it is now to what the future will look like. So, how do you handpick or curate these speakers and talk about the content that they will speak about?
Of course. So I think and that has been a challenge over the history of EcoParty, and I think now it's more important than ever, like how you pick content, right? And I think everyone has something to share, right? But
True.
we ask 3 or 4 questions that we think they are key for the presenters. One is what the audience will learn from this. Like if I go and I sit and I have a lecture, I don't want to see the lectures as a blog post. I want to see them as a history of your experience, learning, failing, and giving, a history of what you have learned while you are doing the research. Because sometimes lectures might might be super interesting for the researcher, but not for the crowd. So one of the key questions we try on the picking, which is really different, and it's difficult for us to pick, is what the audience will learn once they see this. And it's also a good way of giving the speaker a key on the storytelling they will be
Yeah.
giving. Also, we try to pick topics, right? Cybersecurity is no longer a generalist
No.
thing. So, are you in networking? There is a networking aspect for cybersecurity. Are you into reverse engineering? There's a whole side of that. So we try to pick what represents the state of the art in each of these areas and have a little bit of content for everyone. A little bit for the beginners, a little bit for the medium, a little bit for the advanced. And I think that's the mix that when you sit down and you see maybe 3 lectures, you see like, okay, this it's something that I knew, but I never
Mm-hmm.
knew it this deep.
Yeah.
or this topic is over my head and I need to go back and learn, which also is a good experience to understand like, hey, yeah, there's a lot to learn. So picking lectures, a challenge, but it was always rewarding to see the output.
So I know you mentioned already about the villages, and like you have around like 15 or it's like 20 villages around, and this is like amazing because this is all like run by volunteers, right? Sometimes. So if anybody wants to become a volunteer for the Eco Party, what they should do?
So they have to drop us an email. So as you mentioned, and I think part of our key soul of the conference, it's the villages. And I think the hacking community, it's quite meritocratic. And I think all the challenges that we try to do, all the villages, what they're looking for is to people to join and help. And when you help, it is also a good way of meeting colleagues, newcomers, senior people that have been around for a while. And I still enjoy these meetups, because
Hmm.
when they start talking, like, hey, this is your first Eco Party? No, this is my 21st. And for some people, it might be the first. So, meeting as a volunteer, you can drop an email to Santiago. If you're in the area, if you're around, if you want to connect with fellow hackers, Eco Party, it's a great way to start and a good way of connecting not only with the attendees, but also with the speakers.
That's amazing. That's great. And I don't know, Prapti, if you have any other question for him.
Yeah, like you did mention about like AI and the coming threats and the people talking about it, but I would like to know from your perspective as a cybersecurity practitioner, what are the most pressing matters in cybersecurity that organizations are facing today?
So I have strong opinions around AI.
I guess
Um,
everybody does.
so I have been following closely what AI is bringing to the table, and it is important to pay attention because it's not about that vulnerabilities were not there before, but now it's easier than ever to find them, and it will
Hmm.
become easier to exploit them. So there is not something new for like if if you have been around in cyber, we have been screaming well for a bit, saying that hey, we need to improve how companies manage their security. We have to improve how we put guardrails to go faster, but in a safer way. And you know what? Time's up. Now everyone will have the opportunity to find problems quite quickly, defenders and attackers.
Mhm.
And there is not longer this kind of a pipeline where, yeah, there are many vulnerabilities, but so low exploits because the talent making those exploits might not be sharing anymore.
Hmm.
Now it will become not a 0 day, it will become every day. And every
Mhm.
day you will be trying to solve. So we have to go back to basics: good isolation, monitoring what's happening, preventive audits, having secure defaults, a, a number of things that maybe the bigger companies have been paying attention, but they are not the main ones who are victims of cybercrime. You
Mhm.
know, security,
Hmm.
it is sort of a privilege. You need to afford cybersecurity. So in the good aspect, I think it's going to widen the base of companies who can now afford having some code review, some audit. It is going to be get ugly for a bit, but I think it is key that we start changing and putting in gear what AI brings for defenders, but also paying
Mhm.
attention what it brings for attackers. I don't know how you guys feel on this topic, but I think we'll be talking a lot of this.
I know, right? We had a lot of guests throughout this year that everybody had their own opinion. We did have somebody that was doing AI pen testing automated, and then we had someone that they were like, "No, we still need the pen testers." So we have mixed reviews with AI. But the thing is, like, I feel like people should realize that AI is here, and we need to work with AI, and we need to find a way to make it a tool that is going to help cybersecurity professionals fight cybercrime or help improve security overall in the organizations and also individuals, because we always forget that the number one like factor are humans, that they are the weakest link all the time. So but that's great. And now you mentioned like defenders and attackers, and I know you guys are having a live hacking event, right? So
Yeah.
I want to know more about that live hacking event. I know Adobe is already sponsoring. Who else is joining?
So, hackers gonna hack, and I think what a better way to do it live. We have been experiencing this event with the Back Bounty Village, one of our villages that it's one of the most popular ones at EkoParty, where you see practitioners find and exploit bugs, get a bounty for that, and we will be hosting one at EkoParty. I
That's
cannot
fun.
yet disclose all the details on that, but yeah, it is a way where we can bring this talent, not only giving lectures, but also providing first-hand experience as finding bugs, exploiting them, and showcasing to the customer who is willing to get hacked to be more secure. Um, there is a really old paper. I think it's one of the first one that it says how to improve the security of your website by breaking into it, and it's from 1993. And we have been trying for years to find a way to automate and make it easier for maybe non-security people to understand their status while specialists come and go. And I think now, if we look back, we're getting this hybrid way of testing where you bring talent, humans, but you also bring AI. And I think this year, the live hacking event, we are going to experience that. What happens with attackers in a controlled environment with authorization start hacking, and we're going to see the difference. Are people using AI? Are people doing the
Yeah,
Etsy way? We'll
the
see
old
it,
school
and
way.
there's only way to see it. It's at EcoParty.
I bet it's gonna be super fun, and I'm like looking forward to participating or actually like maybe walking around there and like peeking and seeing what they're doing.
I think that's a great way of getting yourself curious. I think back bounty might be a little bit challenging for some, because the first one's like, no, I'm not going to find anything. Why I would spend some time? But if you sit down there, you open your computer and you ask them questions like, hey, where should I start? That might be the start of something else. So go there, walk around, ask questions, but
Yes.
try, because trying is how we all learn. It is trying and failing and asking questions like, hey, I don't know what to this. And I'm sure most people will be more than helpful in trying to set you up, trying to help you get your first bug, which, by the way, it's kind of a tradition. When you get your first bug, you get a big round of applause. So
That's
I
true.
invite you both to try, sit down and chat with people. We have a women back bounty club that will be there as well. So
Yes, that's great.
find
That's
find
amazing.
find your tribe.
Yes, and of course, I mean, there's going to be so many options that those 2 days are going to be so busy, like networking and visiting a lot of villages. And now, moving on a little bit about like the aqua party itself, can you share like one memory or like memorable moment that you experienced in one of your aqua parties and you're wishing it happens again here in Miami?
Well, in these 21 years, I have a big collection, and there have been memorable times, and would be mean on my end to pick
Pick
just one,
one.
but
Okay.
I'll give you a spirit. After running the conference for a long time, and I began when I'm a kid, I think my favorite moments have been when I see a bunch of kids grow up within the conference and now become managers, practitioners, and give
That's
their first
beautiful.
lecture. And that has been my proudest moment. People who have you Prepti asked me like, hey, what's the type of people that showed up? And I was really excited to answer that question because I have people who have studied philosophy and came and said like, hey, I don't know anyone, but I'm interested in computers and I think there's something there. And one of these guys has become like a top leader in the back bounty leaderboards. So making part of the journey, I think of EkoParty is the most proud thing. And I think Miami, it's basically that, creating that opportunity, that step up for everyone to show up. Yeah, there have been amazing hacks, but our best hack ever has been, creating those opportunities for the talent that is already there and
That is
making
amazing.
it easier.
And I know, Prapti, you have a question about like because you were talking about like the skills and everything. You wanna?
Yeah, I was going to ask you because I think there's going to be a lot of freshers joining in. What would be your advice to them? Like, what skills should they develop that should be the most important for them?
Asking questions. Asking questions. We don't
Right.
try to avoid being shy. If you're going to a conference, it's not only about sit down and observe from the back. It's about to raise your hand. I always say there are no silly questions. There are only silly answers. And the best way that you can experience something that you're learning, it's with someone that it's within your level and in your experience, and to become a journey. Now you're going to meet communities, fellow people who might be their first time there. Yes, of course, learning it's a good way, and I would pick a number of lectures. Like if you're interested in taking out the most, I would try to organize myself, because you go there, and the first contact, all plans go to hell. So I would pick a couple lectures that you will find interesting. I will try to sit in a couple of these villages to have the proper experience. And then I will drink some coffee and start asking like, hey, where are you from?
Yeah.
What do you do? And if you do that on the first day, it's going to be it's going to be a big conference, but it's smaller. So you will see that face over and over again. And if it's a wish, is that after the second day, you will have at least 3 people that you have talked to. You have shared coffee, you know where they're from, what they're looking for. And these people, or maybe yourself, are going to invite someone like, hey, are you by yourself? Come, we are with these, going to this lecture. Do you want to come? And again, for me, I started really, really young in this, where most of the people who were in cyber were older than me. But I think that willingness of me of, showing up, asking questions, has helped me shape my career. So that it's the best tip that I can give you. The skill is to learn how to ask and understand that this is part of the journey. And if you're not shy, you will meet me definitely. I'll be around shouting and talking, as you can see.
That's amazing. And I love this message and like the opportunities that the Echo Party is going to create. So, what's next after Echo Party Miami? Are you thinking about Echo Party New York?
Well, definitely, but not on winter. That's for sure.
No.
Too cold for us. I think New York, it's a great city. It's one of my favorite cities. I have spent a fair amount of time in New York. Now there is the oldest hacker conferences. From all the conferences, the oldest one happens in New York, and it's called SummerCon.
Yes,
So
that's true.
yesterday we opened up the CFP. I sent a big hi to
In
the
July,
SummerCon
it's going to
people
happen.
that
Yeah.
Exactly. I tend to go to SummerCon. I have attended a couple times, but talent fun its way to meet, to share, to have a beer, to have a way of sharing. And when you go to hacker conferences, there is, and I have been lucky to be in hacker conference all around the planet. People are willing to learn and to share. People will be with the computers in open tables, and you will sit down next to it like, hey, what are you up to? Oh yeah. And they will showcase And those are and have been my favorite conversations so far. That's how I met my partners. That's how I met um, people in the industry that now I work. And maybe it was just, sharing a beer, asking around. But yeah, for now, we'll be Miami.
Mhm.
Then we'll have Buenos Aires, which is our largest one with, I don't know, we expect 12,000 attendees. I
Wow.
hope you guys can attend. But
Yes.
this is our bet. Trying to make Latin America more connected. We have been starting what we call the eco groups, and we have people from Panama, Costa Rica, Chile, Peru, to gather around and create this eco party community. So once they come to Buenos Aires or Miami, they know people from the same country and they can connect with other communities. So our effort is over there, in we are strong supporters of people because technology it's being developed by these people. So you can, even with AI, you cannot afford not having people in your team who takes and makes security happen.
And that's great, and I love it. And we do have a few questions on Substack, but
Sure.
because of time constraint, I'm gonna pick the most like curious one here. Here it says, "Where does the name Echo Party comes from?"
Well, that's a funny story. I'll tell you what we normally say and what it's in reality. Are you guys ready? So
Yes,
Yeah.
we when
yes.
somebody from press told me what's eco come from, I said it's electronic knockout party, right? Which sounds
I got
great.
it.
But in reality, all the founders of EkoParty were part of a hacking team, and we met over the internet.
Yes.
And we used to hack things really, really a long time ago. And the name comes from that team. We used to call Scratcho, and in Spanish, it means defacement. So we were really young. So we thought it was a good idea to make a small wink to the elders in the crowd, and the name stuck. Many people said like, "Oh no, you should not have party in the name. You should take
Yeah.
out eco." But now Eco Party it's a brand name where it's recognized all around the planet, and we're proud hackers. We have been shaped by the internet, and here we are.
That's an amazing story. That's great. So, for those who want to attend the Echo Party, we are offering a 15% discount here. You
Mm.
can scan their QR code and get access to like a wonderful talks, workshops, and of course network, and you're gonna get to meet a lot of people out there. So grab your 50% discount. Is the code is ask me anything cyber. You can scan the QR code, you go to the website and you grab your ticket. And if you want to become a volunteer, which is like something that we talk about it, you can email to Santiago at ecoparty.org. And anybody that is in college, or you're over 18 years old and you are still in high school, you can participate. If you want to like meet new people and maybe join a village too. I've heard that some villages, they may be out of volunteers, so if you want to join, you can also sign up and contact Santiago at ecoparty.org and become a volunteer. So Fede, thank you so much for your time, for the effort you're putting in the Eco Party. I'm very much looking forward to meeting you in Miami in May. And anything else you want to tell us?
Rapti, Sophie, I think whatever way to close from Ask Me Anything Cyber, I think EcoParty and any Ask Me Anything are have the same soul. So I really had a great time sharing our experience and something that I love, which is EcoParty. I think if you're doubting, if you're having questions, drop an email. Ask like find my email on the internet, find me in my social, send me a DM. If I can help happen, I'll be there. And if it's your first time, send me an email saying like, "Hey, Fede, I don't know anyone." Well, now you know me. Now you know Sophie. Now you know
Yes.
Prapti. Meet us at
Yes,
EcoParty.
yes. Of course, and everybody that wants to like join us the next time, next session, or know more about Ask Me Anything Cyber, of course, you can reach out to us. And in anybody that wants to also know more about EkoParty, Fede is available on LinkedIn as well. And of course, you can go to ekoparty.org to the contact form that you have and reach out to them. They are very fun people. And if you want to sharpen your Spanish, you should be going also to the EkoParty because you're going to have the chance to like test your Spanish skills, I guess. And but of course, the conference is going to be all of it like in English and in Spanish as well, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So there will be a strong Latin crowd, but I think the best way to understand diversity is to dive right into and meet people
yes.
from all over the planet.
Yes, that's true. That's true. And I remember last time we had somebody that was a volunteer at RSA. She was talking about diversity doesn't end in the specific meetings that we have. We should bring it all together and make conference. That's where the new ideas come from, and that's how we can make like the cyber community much more helpful for to fight cybercrime. Right? That's why we are all here.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Computers
So
should be safe, right?
yes, of course. Well, we know that there's a dark side of things, but we're trying to keep it on this side. So thank you so much, Fede, and thank you, Prapti, and we wish you like all the best. See you in Miami, and all the best with Echo Party.
Thank you, Sophie. Thank you, Prapti. Thanks for having this space and thanks for having us. I hope to see a lot of Ask Me Anything Cyber in the future. See you in Miami.
See you. Bye bye.
Bye.
So this was Fetish. He was talking about the Echo Party and like super exciting about what is happening and all the people that are going to be joining. Right? I bet there's going to be a lot of people from all over the world and
Yeah.
things that are going to be doing. But we know that cybersecurity doesn't end in conference, and we know that APTs and attackers are always there. And we have this like quick segment that we always do together, right? Which
Yeah.
is called Know Your Enemy, where we try to like break down new APTs or any new malware or any new like attack out there for those who are not that into cyber. So this is going to help you understand how to protect your loved ones or even how to protect yourself or your business if you're not tech savvy, right?
Yeah, and I would actually love to hear from you that what people should be aware of today. But before we do that, I think we have a small video.
Yes, let's do it.
Every cyber attack has a face, from malware and scams to the actors behind them. Know your enemy. Stay one step ahead.
So today we're gonna be talking about a Know Your Enemy, which is called Solar Maker, and it was identified by the threat group as SOVA. So
Mhm.
this threat actor has been targeting a lot about like we're gonna be talking about like these threat actors. They don't break through firewalls, right? They
Yeah.
just work with social engineering. So they are not like going all over the internet and trying to get you, but they use the very well known technique, which is called social engineering. This is Solar Maker, and it's associated with the threat group actor, which is SOVA, which is a stealthy information stealing malware, and is designed to harvest credentials, browser data, and sensitive files without the user even knowing. So, how does it actually work? These attackers they relied in what is called the search engine. So if you ever use Google search
Yeah.
or Bing, they are using what is called SEO poisoning. What it basically does is manipulating the search results. So the malicious websites are the ones ranking first. So sometimes
Mhm.
they paid ads. So whenever you're Googling your banking, like a website, or you're Googling, for example, you want to purchase something, they make sure that they paid ads so they rank first. And you barely see any typo in the domain. So you go and you click into those fake websites. Now, what is happening is that the researchers, they found like something simple that they are using. For example, if you want to download a specific tool, or if you want to get a specific PDF, or even a job. They're even impersonating legit companies. There have been some cases like Indeed has been impersonated, and they were able to track users into downloading job related files, and that's how they're tricked, and they install this malicious software in their system. Now, once the machine is infected through this SEO poisoning or social engineering techniques that they're using, the malware was going to get to work quickly. Like, they still store browser passwords. So for those who are using Chrome to store your passwords, these type of malware actually get access to your browser extensions that you're saving your passwords. So that's how easily, like, they are
That's very
tricking
common.
users. I
Very
know,
frustrating.
right?
Yeah.
And we know that once the malware gets there, it's very hard to be detected because it steals browser like store passwords or cookies, or sometimes autofill data. If you're using like autofill to use your credit card information, it can also access that type of information. Now, here's what makes it solar maker like especially dangerous is that it's very persistent. It doesn't run just once and that's it. It keeps installing itself in a way that allows it to survive reboots of your computer. So some malwares, they only operate once, and once you reboot your computer, automatically like your antivirus will detect it. But this,
Uh-huh.
it keeps it reinstalling and installing itself. So it's very hidden in the background. So whenever you like, you don't even realize that it's there. And the only thing like we've seen is that it's not only impacting individuals. We've seen cases where organizations, like for example schools,
Yeah.
they've been affected by this type of malware. Now, what is that you can do? First, you need to be very careful when you are searching something on Google. You may assume that has been vetted by Google, but we know how sneaky threat actors are.
Yeah.
So you need to be careful on what you're searching, right? And now you also need to be careful when you're downloading things from unknown sources. For example, you're trying to download, let's say, Notepad++, right? But we
Yeah.
have seen cases where attackers impersonated the Notepad++ website, and people were tricked into going to the wrong URL. So you need to be very careful that if you actually, I'm not expecting everybody to remember all the domains
Yeah.
out there, right? But do your due diligence, check what is like the actual legit website. And I know, for example, if you download like 7-Zip, it doesn't look like a legit website, but it is their legit website. So
Oh,
sometimes you need to be careful. Like these sites, they mimic, they try to copy the website. So you may think you're on the official website, but not. Check URL. Another thing you can do is to use browser security tools like endpoint protection. There's some Google Chrome extensions out there that you can use that is going to warn you if you have a specific antivirus, because I'm not endorsing anybody,
yeah.
but if you have a specific antivirus, some of them, they have Chrome browser extensions that you can install, and whenever you're about to download any specific software, is going to tell you, you know what, this is coming from a malicious version website. Don't do it. And now 911 Cyber has a specific browser extension that you can download, and it's going to help you detect if the website is like not true, like it's fake website, or if it's an infected file that you're downloaded. So these are the steps that you can take to protect yourself. And one of the most important ones that we always talk about about this one property, right? It's about enable multi-factor authentication.
Yeah.
So in case your passwords get leaked or stolen, you'll still have another layer of protection that is going to help you like fight these cyber, like these attacks.
Yeah.
Now, if you suspect that you have been infected by any malware or this malware specifically, disconnect your device from the internet. That is not gonna be able to ping their servers and like exfiltrate their credentials. Change all your passwords. Make sure you remove the autofill from your credit card information,
Yeah.
because you can assume that at that point the attacker already have access. So this is a great example of modern like malware that we have seen outside. It
Yeah.
doesn't need to break into you. it's you that is going to be installing it. So you
Yeah.
need to be very, very careful.
And we have been seeing a lot of these browser-based attacks, these sneaky ways that attackers are now getting in through browsers into your
Yeah.
computer. And I think this is the third one in Know Your Enemy section where we talked browsers are being hit. So
Yes.
it's best to stay aware. And the best way to do that would be to subscribing to the cyber briefing, which we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about the three different headlines, do a quick recap of everything that is, most talked about this week. And yeah, before we do that, let's look at a quick video.
Stay ahead of the cyber curve with real-time alerts, incident reports, and the latest cybersecurity news, all in one streamlined, easy-to-read newsletter. Join more than 20,000 subscribers who rely on cyber briefing, available on LinkedIn, Medium, and now on Substack. Don't wait to protect your digital world. Subscribe today and stay informed with Cyber Briefing by Cyber Material.
So, as we always do, we select three headlines that has been making a lot of noise out there. And this one is sort of on the concerning side of things. This is an alert that it's a research by an ex-employee of LinkedIn, and he published an article on BrowserGate where we know that LinkedIn has been spying on every browser. Now, what is happening here is like LinkedIn's website is running
Mhm.
hidden JavaScript scans that scans your browser and for more than 6,000 Chrome extensions. So every time you visit LinkedIn on a Chromium-based browser, it
Uh-huh.
will scan and check any browser extension they are using. So how does it work? When you open LinkedIn, there's a JavaScript code that is going to be running in the background that doesn't show up in the UI, right? It's not obvious to you. So this
No.
code is going to attempt to detect whether a specific browser extension is installed by probing for thousands of known extensions identifiers. So in this case, the researcher was able to check for 6,200 extensions ID that were being checked. Now, what is happening at the same time? This script is collecting the device information, your browser details, for example, CPU cores, memory, screen resolution, time zone, language, battery status. And this is like a detail fingerprinted about your device
Yeah.
that is also associated with your LinkedIn profile. So they're building all these data points of entry, like about specifics of every user on LinkedIn. And what is really alarming is because you are not consenting to this. So this is a
No.
privacy risk because it's scanning for install extensions and it can review what tools you're using, including security tools, productivity extensions, or even LinkedIn competitors. So
Mhm.
this is a little bit worrisome, I can say. And I know a lot of security researchers are starting to talk about it. And I feel like everybody should raise their voice and sort of denounce this type of spying and make sure that companies are very straightforward when you are consenting to the terms and conditions, that you know exactly what you're signing up for.
Yeah, and you don't expect LinkedIn to do that because you're only there for either connecting or networking or looking for a job. So it's not
Yes.
very clear and upfront because as a LinkedIn user myself, even I didn't know that this was happening. So there is one option I remember that about 2 years ago, LinkedIn was going to take data for like testing.
AI
For
testing, yes.
so we did spread awareness about it and ask people to like make sure they do not give their data, but this isn't even being upfront about it. So
No.
hopefully you can highlight this more. Speaking of the incident this week, it's about Hims and Hers warns of data breach. So what happened there?
So, for those who don't know, Hims and Hers, it's a telehealth care provider company in the US that they are providing treatments for sensitive, I can say, things are there like sexual health or weight loss support. And even though they warn their customers of their data breach, it's still worrisome because they have information about people's personal health care and people like sexual health medication. So if hackers are able to connect name and prescriptions or meds that people are taking, this is a like a grave situation of like very very severe like data breach because it's
Mhm.
connecting healthcare and PII. So this happened in February 4th and February 7th, and the company first detected the suspicious activity like right between. And during that window, they've seen that certain support tickets were accessed or acquired without information, meaning that this information about those tickets they were exposed. So as we know, this happened as a supply chain attack. It was a third-party provider that they were using for a ticketing system. And they say that communication records with healthcare providers were not accessed in this incident. But what does it mean? It means that the attackers they didn't break into the him and hers call healthcare system, but instead they targeted the platform that relies for their support system. And for everyone receiving a breach notice, I would recommend you to stay vigilant because you will have to watch out for suspicion phishing emails or people offering you services similar to like
Him and hers.
him and hers. And of course, monitor that your information is not being sold out there because it can maybe affect your personal and mental health. And we've seen this with the
Bastamo,
Bastamo,
yeah.
yes, breach that the hacker was actually reaching out to the victim. So we don't know what is going to happen.
Yeah, and that was really scary because even we did a story about it, about how he had threatened people that they are going to leak their data, whatever private data they have disclosed. And it gets really scary because people are really affected by it. And they know that this is a point where if they apply pressure on, they will have an outcome in their favor. So I hope everybody can watch out. Now, for the news, we usually discuss something good, but I think this one is record billion, 21 billion lost
Yes.
to cybercrime last year. So like that's a huge
So
number.
I know, and that's why I know we always try to talk about something positive, but this is a report that just came out last week where the IC3 report that there were $21 billion in losses for the complaints in 2020 between 2025 and we know there has been like a sharp increase from 800,000 complaints in 2024 to 1 million complaints in 2025. So we know cybercrime is still very rampant, and we know what type is what's driving these losses. Most of the scams are cryptocurrency related. Um, and we know victims are almost like reporting 11 billion in crypto fraud losses. So we know that most of this money is being lost because of cryptocurrency related schemes. And they say like around seniors are the ones that are being targeted the most, as we always talk about it. And for the first time, there have been reports of deep fake technologies that are being used in scams,
Okay.
which is a little bit like alarming because it's there, and we need to still be very conscious in what is happening.
Yeah.
And of course, we always talk about education and how to tell your senior loved ones on how to protect themselves. And even if you're not the senior loved ones, it could be anybody in your household, community, network, that they should know about every type of scams. I've heard
Yeah.
also about like Eventbrite scams that it's very worrisome too, that they are putting fake like events and people are paying tickets for it, and then they are not the party is not happening because they are impersonating the actual venue. So those are the things that I feel like even right here should put measures in place on to avoid these type of scams. So I feel like in this case companies should take care of their users. So anyway, we can dive more into this in future events. And
Yeah,
that's all
and
for today.
yeah, and thank you, Sophie, so much for breaking down all of them. And once again, if you want to keep up with everything that's going on, make sure to subscribe to the Cyber Briefing. And I think one last thing would be about the DINA Initiative 2026, which
Mhm.
is a one-day online diversity-driven conference. And Sophie, I think you are a volunteer, right?
Yes, and actually, I'm gonna be part of the CTF team. So if you want to participate at their CTF, they're opening now. You can sign up and you can join as an individual and participate in their Capture the Flag competition. It's gonna be happening from May 28th to May 30th, and everybody's welcome.
Yeah, and tickets are just $5, and they are currently for a 2-for-1 deal, which is available. So now is the perfect
Yes.
time to grab yours. So go ahead and
Mhm.
scan the QR code.
Yes, and for next week, we're having Moro Eldridge. He is the one that infiltrating the North Korean IT worker scam. He's gonna be telling us all about it, the Lazarus Group, and how it
Wow.
happened. And I'm very excited about that one because
Yeah.
he experienced firsthand with the North Korean hackers.
Yeah, that's actually, I'd love to listen to that conversation because I did hear about it. And I think we did even do a story about it. And I would love
Yes.
to know from his perspective what happened and what went down.
Yes. So thank you so much, Prapti, for joining us today. I'm very happy to have you. And we're very much looking forward to our next Ask Me Anything Cyber. I can't wait to hear all about it.
Yeah. Thank you so
So
much for joining, guys.
bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for our next Ask Me Anything Cyber, a fun, interactive weekly event for everything cybersecurity. Join us every week at noon Eastern Time for another high-energy recap of the week's biggest cyber stories, from data breaches and threat intel to major legal updates. Whether it's a high-profile hack, a new APT on the rise, or a must-attend summit, we've got it covered. But that's not all. We'll also break down the latest job market trends, share our thoughts on cyber stocks, and give you actionable insights to stay ahead. And of course, we wrap things up with what makes this show special, live Q&A with you. Have a question about a breach? Want to know how a threat works? Curious about getting started in cyber? Let us know and we'll answer it live. See you next week.